Okay, so yeah, as you all signed up for, today's webinar is what to consider when buying new tech. So let's start off with buying smartphones. So one thing that you have to consider, or one of the main things, I guess, is the display. So it should be bright enough to see outdoors, and it should be sharp enough that the text isn't blurry. So to look at how sharp it is, you should look at the resolution. Ideally, you'd want something with a 1920 by 1080p display, especially if you're buying a phone with a larger screen, like say closer to 6 inches. Where the best resolution would actually be around 2560 by 1440p, which sometimes you would see it called Quad HD or QHD. So yeah, on the topic of bigger displays, you should always consider the size of the phone because um, sometimes they can be like the size of a small tablet even. So you should consider, how the phone fits in your hand. Maybe you can go into the store and try it out. Um, you might want a bigger screen um, if you're watching a lot of videos or something, but you might be sacrificing the ease of use if you have like smaller hands. But um, also you'd be sacrificing portability if you'd like put it in a bag or put it in your pocket. The opposite could also cause issues if you have a smaller phone, because it might be easier to misplace it around the house, or it might be hard to read stuff off of it or view stuff off of it. And the battery is pretty important because a larger phone with a larger screen will it generally will have a bigger battery, but if it doesn't have a big enough battery, then it might compromise the battery life. Um, and most Android phones come with a fast charger that take, even like 10 minutes to charge the battery. Um, so yeah, you want to consider also how fast it could charge and what charger it comes with. And a tip for iPhones is to buy the iPad charger. The um, iPhones usually come with like a small brick, maybe the size of like half of your palm or something, but the iPad charger is like double the size, and you would also get double the charging speed out of it. So for storage, which is something that a lot of people actually don't consider when they're buying a phone, um, it's recommended to get a phone with at least 64 gigs of storage nowadays because apps are getting bigger and photos and especially videos take up a lot of space on your phone. So some Android phones have micro SD cards or slots for a micro SD card, as you can see in the picture on the right there, that can add additional storage if you're running low. And if you enjoy taking pictures, it's always a good idea to look for a smartphone with a really nice camera. So these tend to be more expensive, especially if you're buying phones with like multiple lenses. Like you see this iPhone, what is that? Like an iPhone 12 there with three lenses. Um, and the best camera can change from year to year as brands compete for the best camera. But nowadays, smartphone cameras are getting pretty good. So no matter what phone you buy, you should be getting a pretty decent camera that you won't mind taking pictures with. And you should also consider how old the phone when you're buying it because not everyone upgrades right away. So refurbished phones, which are basically phones that maybe had a problem with or somebody returned or they didn't want, so they took it back to the store or back to the company and they repaired it and repackaged it. Um, they're usually cheaper than brand new phones, but the age of them could determine or it could change whether you want to buy them or not because you could be getting an older phone, like 1 or 2 years older, or even more than that. Um, and but if your phone's about 2 to 3 years old, it might stop getting software updates, like security updates, even, which are pretty important. And you could even lose out on newer features that Apple or Android decides to give you. Um, Certain apps might not even be updated because the developers might just stop supporting older versions of them that used to run on older versions of your operating system. And if you're just using the phone for texts and emails, then a refurbished phone should be fine because those apps don't really change over time. They're built into your phone. You should also look at the company's reputation. So companies like Apple, Samsung, and Google are, the three biggest ones in um, generally. And LG, although they've stopped making phone or that many phones over the years, they're also pretty reputable. They're known and trusted brands, so you know that you'll always be getting a pretty good quality phone from them. But some other companies like Blue, Huawei, or OnePlus have had some controversies over the years. They are Chinese companies, so they have been caught sending private data back to their headquarters in China. So, although they do make good phones, you might want to take that into consideration if you're buying from them. So some other things to consider are if it has stereo speakers. So most phones, they have one speaker on the bottom of them that acts as the main speaker, but some other phones also have or they advertise stereo speakers where the top earpiece speaker also works as a speaker. So that, helps to make give you a louder sound out of it. Does the phone have wireless charging? That's a pretty neat feature. It's pretty nice to have. So you could have a wireless charger on your desk and just, set your phone down on it the whole day and have it charged and ready to go whenever you want it. Um, is it waterproof or water resistant? Most phones are now, but even if it's splash proof or something, it's nice to have in case you have it like while you're, say, washing your hands or doing the dishes and you accidentally get some water on it. You won't be worried about it breaking. Um, does it have a headphone jack? Those are phones with headphone jacks are pretty rare to find now, but if you don't want to use an adapter, then having a headphone jack built into the phone is pretty useful. And does it support 5G networks, which it depends on your plan that you have and your carrier if there's 5G available around you. 5G is, it's a um, new technology and it's very fast. So if you care about that, then you might want to look into that when you're getting a new phone. So tablets, they have pretty much the same considerations. Um, as if you were buying a new phone. But other things that you should consider if you're buying a tablet are how would you use it? So tablets, they're pretty good as an alternative to computers now. So if you do want to use it as say a replacement for a laptop, then you should consider a case that allows you to prop it up on a stand maybe, and also has a detachable keyboard so you can type on it. You should also consider getting more storage in it. So over 64 gigabytes, maybe 128 or even 256. So whatever files you put on it, you won't be worried about running out of space. And most importantly for a tablet is making sure the screen is big enough. Um, I'm not very familiar with the screen size of tablets, but if you go into a store, there should be, some displays of tablets where you can try it out and see which size fits you best. You should also consider if you're using the tablet just on Wi-Fi, or some tablets also have a wireless option where you can use your wireless plan with it. So you can text and make calls off of it, and even use data on the go. So if you're buying it in store or if you're chatting to somebody online, you should ask what type of connectivity the device supports if you're concerned about this. So on to buying computers, or specifically, we're going to talk about laptops here. The processor is um, the component in the computer that basically runs all the programs. So it um, as the name suggests, it processes everything that's going on in your computer. So having a better processor would increase the speed of your computer and how fast or how intensively you can run the programs. And the speed is usually, well, it'll usually say the speed of the processor in the device name, but it could also be affected by the processor, the number of cores on it. So it could say that it's a dual core or a quad core. Uh, RAM or RAM access memory is the computer's short-term data storage. So I guess you could think of it as like a sticky note that I don't know, you put on your desk or something to save for later, um, while you're like making calculations or something. So you should always go for an absolute minimum of 4 GB, but 8 GB is, pretty nice for casual computer use. I'd say that's ideal for most people. And um, you could go up to 16, or if you really wanted to, you could get 32 GB for heavier use. So, like smartphones, you should also look for storage in your computer. Um, it's where I guess you store all of your long-term data. So it's where you'd put all of your downloads and documents, and even where you store your programs on your computer. So having enough storage is um, not only very helpful for, um, say, if you have a lot of pictures to store, or if you're transferring stuff from your phone to your um, computer, like photos and videos. It's also very important to keep your computer running slowly. So you want to have at least 15% of your storage free, which you can check in your this PC. There'll be a bar that shows how much you have free, um, which is very important because if you don't have enough storage free, I've actually run into this issue myself last week where I've almost run out of storage on my computer, and not only does it slow it down, but um, crucial functions of programs and even the computer itself um, might slow down or even fail to work. So you always want to have some storage free. Yeah, since we're talking about laptops here, the screen size is very important too. So typically the screen size, you could find it between 11 and 17 inches for a laptop. Um, Bigger screen sizes on laptops use more battery, but again, like smartphones, um, the bigger screen size you go, usually the bigger battery they have. So it's always important to, um, look at what they're saying about their estimates for how long the laptop will last, and you can even ask for how big the battery is in the laptop. So bigger screens can have benefits for ergonomics, so you're not, sitting too close to your screen, trying to look at like small text or images, um, and it'll just be easier to see and use in general. But a bigger screen also means usually that the laptop is heavier and bigger, so it'll be more difficult to take around. And another aspect of the screen is the resolution. So, how sharp the screen will be. So, on most laptops, you should aim for at least 1080p um, for the screen. Uh, but if you do have a bigger screen, say 17 inches, then you could look for something like 1440p. Uh, This is especially important if you're planning to watch a lot of videos or looking at pictures on your computer, or even reading a lot of, say, news or articles or books on your computer. So you're making sure that everything you see is sharp, and you're not straining your eyes to look at something. And if you're taking your laptop around a lot, um, the size and weight of it is pretty important. Uh, so if you're focused on portability, then a 13-inch laptop or less is usually recommended. But um, most computers nowadays are what they call thin and lights, where I don't know, I guess it'd be like the thickness of your finger even. But they do still make computers that are thicker and heavier. Um, and Generally, those will be cheaper, so you will be getting more out of your money if you're buying a thicker and heavier laptop. Um, yeah, so generally, since they are spending less on making it smaller and lighter, they will give you more RAM or storage, or since it's bigger, they'll give you a bigger display size too. Yeah, we've been talking about laptops the whole time, but for desktops, portability and battery life shouldn't really matter. Uh, and most people, they usually choose 24-inch monitors since you're going to be sitting farther away from it. The laptop won't be, right in front of you while you're typing, or sorry, the computer. And the operating system um, is what it runs on, or what your all the programs on your computer runs on. So um, you're probably familiar with either a Windows computer or a Mac, where they use Mac OS. And deciding on which one you want usually comes down to personal preference. Uh, so some people like how Mac OS is pretty like simple, and um, it all just it all just works. So it comes down to how you like how it looks, the appearance, and how you perceive its ease of use. So some people like using Macs because uh, everything is pretty intuitive. If you've never used a Mac before, then they can just get right into it. Um, yeah. So Apple products, they all link together pretty well, and they tend to have better security if you don't configure anything. So right out of the box, you wouldn't really be worried about security, which is a reason why people prefer them. Um, Switching from one to another. So if you've been using um, a Mac for a while and then try and switch to Windows or vice versa, uh, it can be pretty daunting because it requires you to learn new ways of navigating. It generally most things should be the same. So if you're using your email a lot, it shouldn't change. But um, navigating around the software, so um, say going into the settings or something, it will change between Mac OS and Windows. So you should consider that if you are switching between Mac OS or Windows. So as laptops do get thinner and lighter, you'll find that the connectivity also shrinks. So if you can, you should look for USB-C ports, USB 3 ports. So it's like HDMI, maybe an Ethernet port, which you can see like second to the right over there in the picture. Um, and headphone and microphone jacks, which are usually always included with a computer or laptop. Um, Apple laptops, I think the new one, they've added some ports, but they have downsized the number of ports and the selection of ports they have, and they only offer USB-C ports. So um, you should consider that if you're buying a new laptop, because if they don't have the ports you need, then you will have to buy a separate converter or adapter to plug in other kinds of attachments. And like I mentioned before, macOS integrates pretty well with the rest of the Apple devices, and um, this might be important to you if you want to stick with a single brand or an OS that you already use, or if you have a lot of devices from the same brand. This can be it can make it easier for you to set up and back up and sync um, stuff between the devices, especially if you don't have access to your device in person at the time, and you want to receive help transferring your data between the devices. And ultimately, I think the most important consideration when you're buying any tech device should be the price. So the average cost of a new laptop or a computer is around $700, but it can be much higher or even lower depending on say the brand that you choose and how much RAM or storage or um, what screen size you decide to buy. So when making a choice, you should always weigh your budget, how much you're willing to pay for the device against what you're using it for. So what you expect to get out of it. So if you're expecting to make heavy use out of it or using it for more intensive purposes, like say editing videos or editing photos, um, investing more into the computer saves you the need from buying uh, a new one in the future sooner as the hardware starts to get older and the computer starts to get older and stuff starts to slow down. Um, you can get away with something cheaper if you're just using it for emails and simple tasks. Um, and in that case, you can even look into a Chromebook, which are pretty cheap and made just for that. So now that school's on in a few weeks or maybe a month or so, depending on where you are, you should, if you're considering buying a new device, now is a great time to do so with back to school sales and tax holidays. So back to school sales are, yeah, they are already happening, or some stores might start them soon. Uh, and additionally, some US states offer a tax holiday on some back to school items. So, back to school sales, they will require a student ID to take advantage of the sales, but many don't. They just label it as back to school, and you will see the discounted prices. So, yeah, some of the stores that you can get back to school deals without being a student are, HP, Dell, Microsoft, and like physical stores like Target and Staples and Best Buy. Um, in the slides that we'll share later, you can click on these links and explore them yourself. And we will have a demo later showing you where these cells are and how to look at them. So yeah, in slideshow later, you can also see some of these deals on these products as an example. And again, you can click on these and take a look at them yourselves. So these US states have tax holidays on computers and other tech, and the dates are here. So if you want to write them down or something, or look at them later, then I'll leave that to you. And then finally, if you still have additional questions on um, what to look for in buying tech or what you should buy, then you can see some of these links here. So CNET, they've been around for a while. They're a pretty good source. Tech Radar or New York Times Wirecutter. Um, and you could also ask us for help at our website there or look for advice in past webinars at our YouTube. This is still open. Let's go to the Best Buy website. So Um, this is the Canadian website, so the prices will be a bit higher than, or sorry, yeah, a bit higher than if you were in the US. So you can take note of that. But in general, this is what it's like to look for new deals. So if you if you look for Best Buy and go on their website, sorry, it's a bit slow here. On their homepage, you'll usually see a bunch of stuff that tells you that there's a sale going on. So right here we have the Labor Day sale, and if you scroll down a bit, you'll see. Oh, I guess it's not here, but sometimes there is a back to school sale. I'm not sure where it is right now. So if you click, oh, sorry, it's right here. So a back to school sale right here, and even like sales on certain items like computer accessories or TVs. So if you click shop now, then you can look at all the categories that they have, or if you keep scrolling down, then you can see some of the picks. So yeah, perfect. Right here we have an Asus Vivobook laptop. So if you click into that, you see that it's $200 off, which is pretty good. And the sale ends in about a week. And you'll see right in the name right here, it shows the screen size of the laptop. So 15.6 inches, which um, is pretty standard. Usually you'll have 13 inch or 15.6 or 17 inches. Um, and then right here at the end, you'll see what processor it has. So it's a Core i5, 11th gen, and it has 512 gigs of storage and solid state storage too, so it's fast, and 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it's running on Windows. So if you scroll down even more, under the more information, it tells you, sorry, let me make this bigger. It tells you the processor speed, so it's 2.4 gigahertz, which is the base speed. It's a quad core, and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. Here we have the resolution. So 1920 by 1080, which is, a pretty good resolution for a 15-inch screen. Um, it has Wi-Fi included and Bluetooth. So here it tells you the size of the battery. So 37 watt hours, which I believe is pretty good for a laptop. And sometimes it even tells you what ports it has. So right here it says one USB 3A port, so the square port, um, and then two USB 3 Type C ports, which are the oval shaped ones, and then two USB 2A ports, which are a bit slower than USB 3 ports. It also comes with one HDMI port and a um, audio jack included. If you want even more information, you can scroll down further and look at the details and specs page where it lays it out in a nice chart for you. So if you scroll through that, it has all the information that was above. And with sites like, well, with most sites, if you look to the left here, you can choose by category, but also, um, sorry, if I go to the computers and tablets, which we talked about today, um, you can even scroll down and sort by, well, I guess it's not here. We can sort by price, but there's also usually options for sorting by how much um, RAM it has or how much storage it has or what the screen size is. So if you go to specifically the page that you're looking for um, and you scroll down, you'll see on the left side here that you can sort by the screen size. So if you wanted just 13 inches, you click on that and it just show you 13-inch laptops. And also, the processor type. So Core i7, i5, i3, how fast you want it, the number of cores it has, how much RAM it has, 2 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes, how much storage it has, and additional features down here. So yeah, that should give you a general idea of what to look for when you're buying a new laptop and how to look for it on sites like Best Buy.